Natasha, and thank you so much for joining me today. Well, today I'm going to be trying a bit of a new, something just like same, but I want to try a different spin on it and see how we go. Now, I had this idea and I was going to wait for more supplies to arrive, but actually we can make do with what we've got. So I'm going to be using this stencil. Now, I was really interested in the stencil because it's got lots of solid space to it. This is the Rhombus pattern by Stamperia, and this is a big stencil, but more importantly, the price point's pretty low. It runs around $5 for a really big stencil, and I thought that was actually pretty good value. I wanted to try them out. There's obviously lots more patterns, but I really like the fact that this has so much solid ground, and there's going to be a reason for that. So this is obviously how you may usually use a stencil, by stenciling colour through it. But you'll notice that I'm actually covering the entire stencil, really not just aiming for the bits in between, because I want to do a couple of specific techniques. But instead of using water, we're going to try a couple of different things. So I have got some, I believe this is like maybe Salty Ocean and Wilted Violet, just a couple of Distress Oxide inks. And really you can use hybrid dye inks or regular dye inks, something that's water reactive. Now, I have made sure that I have really coloured this background. It's pretty full colour ink. Now, this is gorgeous, as is. That's beautiful. But really, what I really want to experiment with is what's left on here. So I've got another piece of paper ready to go. I am working on a piece of paper towel, and instead of just using water for this technique, I want to see what this is going to look like if we use something else. So I was thinking of using some sort of solar spray. Now, you could also use some sort of glimmer mist. Now, whether that be from any different companies or homemade. Really, this one does have a tint of, say, gold mica to it, I would say. This is the yellow sort of solar spray, and this is a Simon Hurley product. It came out, he's got several of these, maybe 6 I think came out, maybe 8. But I did think, what would happen if I sprayed it over top, and what would the effect be on what's already underneath? So I thought I might as well try that first, and that will also give me the coating on this side that I need as well. So actually, it changes the colour quite significantly, but I really like it. And then I'm going to take all of this ink, which now has that wet liquid all over it, so it's very much reactivated it, pop down another piece of paper towel and a little card front, and then pop this down onto it. You can see that there is a good amount of colour, and this is kind of a 2-for-1, but experiment with different, other than using water to do this technique, let's try other things. And I just think that that's a really fun take on it. And this one, even the paper towel looks pretty there, but even the solar spray is beautiful. But whatever glimmer mist you've got, Alton, you've got them, Brutus Monroe have them. I mean, almost all companies have some sort of one. So whatever you've got, go ahead and give it a go. And I pulled it up slowly in case I needed better coverage, but actually this is stunning. And then I kind of surprised myself with the cards that I came out with. I'm going to complete a couple of cards for you for this, just to show you how to finish them. And really, really cool. I ended up loving these. Now, it's a little bit hard for you to see, but this is shimmering gold. It is absolutely beautiful. And then when I look at the one on the right, because we lined the stencil up perfectly, it covered that beautiful colour. It really muted it, and it certainly it changed it up quite a lot. So I want to try something else. And it's always a little bit fun to experiment as we go. And even though none of these are sort of mind-boggling, it's really just fun to experiment and change it up, try some different products. If you only have water, then by all means use water. I think that'll be really fun too. But I do think if you can add in some of your own mica, if you could add in some perfect pearls to some water, if you can use some different products, all the more fun. Now this one here, I am going to offset this because I said it changed the colour of the ink quite significantly. I'm going to offset the top there and then spray it. Now I'm giving it a decent spray, and you can see that it's changing the colour, that's for sure. And then when I lift it up and look underneath, this has got a very, very cool shadow. It almost looks like I've gone over with white pigment ink, except for it is beautiful and shiny and shimmery and all the good things. So as I said, this was fun. I've flipped it over, of course, not to waste any of that ink and solar spray, and I get a whole other panel over here. Again, just beautiful. beautiful. The colors are beautifully blended because we've reactivated them with that moisture, with the liquid, which of course you can absolutely do with water. So if you only have a spray bottle, go for gold. You can still do this technique. But if you have any perfect pearls, then add that to some water. If you have mica, then use that. If you have sprays, use that. Look at this here. The shimmer is just stunning. I love that shadow effect. Probably most out of all of these. So we do want to finish these off and turn them into some cards. We've created some gorgeous backgrounds and I love that. They are gorgeous, but let's create some beautiful cards. I want to keep these simple. There's a lot of colour going on in the background, but I also want to keep them quite striking. So for a real colour shift, I'm going to do a black and white focal point. And so I'm going to use these funky leaves from Gina K. And this is it's a small stamp set, so A, it's a good price point, but B, wow, these leaves are just striking. They're very bold and very solid, but those patterns, they really pack a gorgeous kick. So we are going to use these to do a little bit of just, a little bit of finishing touches. I've got a circle stamp there that I'm also going to stamp that thankful, and then I've got a little sub-sentiment that I can use. I'm just using some VersaFine Onyx black ink. This is a pigment ink. It is crisp stamping. Because it's pigment, it's going to stay wet for a little bit. So actually, I am going to heat emboss my leaves there that I've stamped out, but I'm not in a hurry to do it because it's a pigment ink. The pigment sits on top of the paper when you stamp it. It doesn't sink in like a dye ink does. It does slowly, but it sits on top of the paper for much longer, and that gives us that ability to be able to heat emboss it. I just want the shine from the heat embossing, so I used a clear, and then I'm going to fussy cut around these. Again, you know me, I'm going to choose images that I can really quickly fussy cut out and not have too much stress. Leaves, tick, yes, absolutely. Then I'm going to cut down some of these panels. Now, the first one I am just going to do fairly stock standard, I would say, and let the background speak for itself. But actually, the second one, I'm going to go a little bit different. Now, this panel was not entirely dry. I didn't heat set it, and I didn't wait very long. So you could probably wait until it dries. That would be smarter, but, that's okay. I'm going to put this in a very, very skinny black matting layer and then pop this on a 4 1/4 by 5.5 inch card base. I'm doing that black matting layer just because I've got the black words stamped there and the focal point. So I just want to tie everything in, but I don't want the card to look really dark. And, it's a cheerful card, and all that beautiful colour in the background is doing the job there. I've got a couple of little leaves, and just how good do these leaves fit in? They're sort of, not too feminine, not too masculine. I think you could use these for any gender. I think you could use this for any occasion. Absolutely. Change up the colours in the backgrounds, and even if you don't do this technique for the background, you could absolutely add this, use this layout for different backgrounds that you have sitting around. Then I've got a couple of these little from Hero Arts. I think they're the Hero Hues dots. I'm using some of the black ones just to pop here and there. You could use some Nuvo dots. You could even draw in some faux splatter. That would work perfectly as well. Super, super simple and striking. Now, the patterns, this is the Rhombus pattern stencil, and so I want to lean into that, and I'm just using the guide of the stenciling to cut this, and I thought it ends up sort of a diamond shape, but with the top and the bottom cut off because I need to make it obviously fit on my 4 1/4 by 5.5 inch card base. So that's exactly what I was going for. You could go if you started off with a larger piece, and again, the stencil is, I think, maybe 8.5 by 11. Like, it's a big stencil, and that's something that I quite like. I quite like the coverage and the choice that gives me. But you don't have to pay that higher price point for it. So really good. I appreciate this, Stamperia. Well done. Then I'm going to take some very, very fine black strips. I have glued my card front down onto my card base. And then I'm just going to highlight this a bit. I could have used a matting layer, but the edges there are going to go off the card. So I really thought that just using these fine strips. Now you could do this in like gold, silver, purple, any of the colours that you wanted to. You could take that wilted violet and you could use it direct to paper to create some coloured paper, some coloured cardstock, and then add that down the sides. But I really like the black. It's quite striking. It's going to go again with our focal point. And again, as I said, this is my favourite of the two. I really love this, and boy was this simple to create and put together, really. And again, just following that gorgeous easy peasy stencil. So I'm going to use a little banner here. This is from my free sentiments download. You can find this on my website, natashafootecreative.com, and you can go there and download these PDFs. I have whole sheets of them that you can download, and they are beautiful. They were designed that you can fussy cut them out super easy. They're designed with several layers of borders so that you can decide how big you would like your sentiment to be. Lots of really good things there, but they are free over on natashafootecreative.com, so head on over there. That's my website. I have card making classes. I have a whole host of things over there. I did last year a series, the A to Z of the alphabet and card making techniques, so that's over there. I've got a brand new series called the Year of Geometrics, where we're using gorgeous shapes just like this one to make beautiful, stunning cards. So tell me, have you given this technique a go? What else have you used except for water to create these beautiful techniques? And I hope that you give this one a go. If you do, post it on our Facebook group, which is called Come Crafting with Natasha, and I would love to see it there. But anyhow, thank you so much for joining me. Thank you for being here, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Thanks, bye.